I would like to start this video with the process of registering a Mobile Connect Android or smartphone, should we say. I said Android, but however, there's BlackBerry. There's also iPhones that are all part of the registration. What we have to do here is we have to open up the Smart Center application, which is by Amcom Software Support. My application is actually, it's giving me an error here because I'm running a newer version of Windows, but I will be running Windows 7. Most of the machines throughout the hospital, of course, are Windows XP type machines, so they may not see that particular error. Anyway, I will use my login ID. The administrators that actually are running the Smart Center application currently do have login IDs, so I will go ahead and start that process. Okay, when we start up the Smart Center, what we first do is we go into the listing. Okay, in this listing, we can pull up a database that's been pre-configured over the years for the Methodist Hospital. But what we're going to do here, since this particular video is for installing new smartphones and what we call the Amcom Mobile Connect application, I will actually go in and I will start with building a profile. Under this listing, you will notice that there are two icons that are sitting here. One is green, for go, and one is red for the stop signal. What we want to do is we want to make sure we're not in this particular window. This window is for you to do a search, a criteria search for existing database items that are in there. So what we want to do is we want to hit the escape key. Hitting the escape key will, of course, turn those two off. It will also put us in auto mode, meaning that this listing ID is automatically installs a number for us, starting with the last number and moving forward. Of course, we can determine whether or not this is a person, a department, or whatever, but we're going to stay, in this video, we're going to stay with this being a person. I will go ahead and put my alternate cell phone in there since I know that I do not have that in there, so I'll call that and I'll use my last name for a last name to help us look, to drill down in our lookup if need be. The next step we'll do is, of course, there is additional information that can be added here, but for registering a phone immediately and going through it fast, we'll actually put in a message ID number. In this demonstration, we'll use the actual phone number of the cell phone as the message ID number. Now, you saw that went real fast because I had already pre-copied that into memory. So this would be the actual message ID that I'll be working with. The use of the message ID, of course, will allow us to use other applications like the Amcom has an application called Messenger. Amcom also has an application called SmartWeb. So this will give us the opportunity. I will go ahead and put a password in here. So if I use any one of those two applications, I can use with this number and using my password. Okay, I have just entered that in there. This is all we need to enter in this first screen. We'll come back to the screen a little later. If you notice, it says 3. There's this status indicates that the device that we're going to configure, or the profile we configured, is currently it's not available right now, indicating that there's no pager device, phone device, or anything of that nature. Our next procedure would be either to press the F8 function key to save, or I can go up here and press the save button. In that save button, I did not did not happen to see what was being printed, but down here below, if I can get the screen just a little bigger here, there will be some additional information that I should be able to pull up, and it'll tell me that 4 records were saved. I will pull this up just a little bit here, and there you go, right there. Hopefully it'll stay on this screen. The next step we need to do is now we need to go and configure the actual device. If it's a pager, if it's a smartphone, if it's a tablet. So we'll go into Admin, Add Pager, and the pager that we're going to add. Now again, we notice that when we change screens, there are actually 2 screens that I have here. I have a screen that has the listing. I have a screen that now we're going to be working in. But this screen is highlighted. If you notice that we do have the criteria search buttons again. So in order for me to start the new phone, the new device, I have to hit escape. That turns that off. Right here, I will go ahead and put that that phone number in there. Of course, the phone number I set is the same as my message ID. The next step in this screen, I will also have to put in a page or class of service. I can press the F3 key, and on all configured devices that we're putting in, that smartphone devices, they will all start with an SMPT. That's Sam, Michael, Paul, Paul. We'll do OK here. The next step would be go down to the model, and in that model, we'll press the F3 key and always choose the first one, Alpha Flex. Now, remember, we're putting in a smartphone, and so this will, this is going to be preliminary information. Now, here's where I go ahead and put my message ID again. Of course, remember that message ID there. Okay, and if I tab, it indicates that name that I had put in originally. And at this point, I can go ahead and press the F8 key or press the Save button. And now I can go ahead and put AMC registration. And doing that, my next step would be to go into the Amcom registration screen. I'll go ahead and press the F8 key to make sure that's saved. Now I'm in the tab. With pressing this button up here where it says Allow AMC Registration, it highlights this this button here. From this point on, what we'll do is this is all open. We can come back to this later on once the registration is completed. I will now press the Open Registration form. Next step we'll do is we'll go ahead and input the actual ID once more. Hit Tab, and here we'll go ahead and press the F8 function key, or here again, for those, you can always use the Save key. Once we've done that, now we'll go ahead and add the AMC registration. This will allow us to get into the AMC registration form. And I can go ahead and press F8 once more. Go into the registration form. Now here is where we will start to send out the registration to the users of the individual iPhone, BlackBerry, or Android, any of the smartphones that they're in the system. I will press the Open Registration. My next screen that will come up will be a web page that is designed. It has the pertinent information that we currently had about the device that we're configuring. Of course, this phone is a Verizon, but if it was just any other type of smartphone from any of the other carriers, it would be in this drop-down box. And of course, this is not a Cisco-type device. The device I'm using is actually an Android device. It's Android X that I'm using. So if you notice, the screen changes to a point. Then, of course, I will leave it as Android. There are several different types of Android, but I'll use this one as an Android Droid. And what we'll have to do is here we'll use the Android Gateway. Android, of course, Gateway will be the Amcom C2DM. Of course, and this is where we will input the Methodist Hospital user's email address. And this email address, of course, would be the same email address that's configured, on their smartphone also. Once we've done that, now we will go ahead and we will press the registration button. Once we press the registration button, you will get this information. This is now being sent out to the user's smartphone. And at any point now, you will always notice that you will have this little exclamation point here. But that user should be getting the registration form to their phone from this point on. That really takes care of the registering and sending out the registration to the user. Now what we'll have to do it from this point on, there'll be another step that we'll record later on, and that will be if the user has questions or if they're at this point where they do not see that their phone has been registered. And that is one of the screens that we can always go back to. I can always drop this screen down, and when I go back into this screen here, of course, I will do a refresh on my screen at this point. One other thing I did forget. I'm sorry. We can close the screen, go back to the main screen, and now I can press 2, or I can press the F3 function key. I'll have to do that. Actually, I go ahead and press 2. Let's do it this way, and this will put us on page. I said press F3 function key, but that field would have to have nothing in it. But we'll always use the press 2. We'll use 2 to put them on page. We will go ahead and put the checkbox on, and F8 or the Save button. Okay. Now this really does, complete the process of sending out the registration. the registration is not complete until, if I go back to the actual registration screen, I'm going to go to the pager. I will pull up that user that I registered. Of course, all their information in here. If I go back to the AMC registration form, you'll see that it's pending. There will be pending on it. It has a registration ID that's sent to the Amcom host services, and it's pending. It tells the actual time that that was sent out, type of phone. Once that person hits the registration on their phone, and I will refresh the screen again, this will become complete. Of course, seeing that the phone has not been completed yet, or the registration has not been completed, we will have to wait for that to happen. But this covers the sending out registration to the smartphone.